today? 29th? 28th of August.
Not good when you don't have a date.
It's been a couple of weeks since we did a show, since I dropped the microphone into the bucket of mop water. That was fun. And last week I pushed the wrong button, so I didn't record the whole show we did last week. It was a good show. You missed it.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. So that's just a preview. And also, we're going to be doing some new stuff now. We're trying to get this live set up. Hopefully we'll have that next week on the 3rd of September. It'll be our big preview. Right? This is our big preview for, the premiere.
The key thing will be record.
Yes, and we'll push the record button this time for sure. Anyway, so that's it. So any news? What's happening?
I don't know. We're not doing Trump stuff.
No, I don't want to do Trump stuff.
Not do Trump
I wouldn't mind. I'll talk about the American student loan thing.
Oh yeah, he gave. Was it $10,000 forgiveness?
10,000 forgiveness and 20,000 if you were a Pell Grant student, which meant that you're from the lowest socioeconomic layer. But in the end of the day, it was just it's a ploy to. It's an election ploy to try and win the midterm elections. It's pretty transparent, and it's not really that effective. It doesn't do anything to address the actual problem. It's basically like putting a plaster on like a brain hemorrhage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like an oil spill.
Yeah, like an oil spill. So
the thing is, it's so crazy. So I read this article by The Intercept, from The Intercept, and it was about kind of Ronald Reagan's hatred towards free education in California.
Absolutely.
And this is actually like a strategy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
From the Republicans because they wanted a stupid proletariat. I was like, this is the 80s. Okay, so I didn't realize that before any California resident before the 80s, I think, could go to UC Berkeley basically for free, almost 200 euros, $200 a month.
No,
or $200, sorry, a year.
Yeah. I went to UMass in 1984, and it was only like $4 grand a year.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. Now it's got.
$4 grand a year then is what?
I was an out-of-state student, and it was $4 grand a year. If you were in-state, it was only like $1,200.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
And you still had ability to get scholarships and everything as well.
Absolutely. The whole point of making this a pay-to-play thing is exactly as you said. You don't want an educated proletariat. You don't want people to understand the cause and effect of the system that they live in by critical thinking.
Yeah.
So it became this big joke that a liberal arts, a humanities degree was like 4 years of waiter school.
Right.
Because they made it to the point where it had to become more like vocational training to go and get a skill that you could make enough money with to pay back your loans.
Right. So it really wasn't about getting a career or finding it,
Not even so much, but it wasn't about fulfilling yourself, which is what college should be about. You know what I mean? Like a young person to go from the age of 18 to 22, you should be like, this is a time when you should be like opening up your mind to new shit and
not being encumbered by debt.
Yeah,
because that's the deal.
That is exactly what the deal is.
But I could not believe that. And I was thinking about California, because California has a few amazing schools. I mean, in consideration of the rest of the U.S. or even the world.
Yeah.
And I was like,
UCLA.
Yeah, but I can't imagine a kid nowadays, okay, let's say in comparison, $200 in the early 80s versus maybe it would be like a couple grand now. Yeah. Right? If we're doing that math, the comparison, I'm like, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, it's accessible on some level.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was like, that is such a direct attack, and that thing is like, that's poison, because if it gets into education, it goes everywhere.
But that was Reagan's thing, in California. I mean, Reagan, he's you would think he was like a strident Second Amendment gun guy. He brought in gun control in California because the Black Panthers went to the Senate, the chamber, and the California Senate with shotguns.
They did that in Texas too.
And they were like, "Oh, fuck that shit, man. We didn't mean these people could have guns. Yeah. That's not what we were talking about."
He's like, roll back for a second.
And that's when the gun control laws came in California. Like it's like a it is like, and it's the same thing with the abortion controversy. It's about keeping people in a place where they have to go and work at fucking Carl's Jr. for $7.50 an hour.
But it's crazy because there is that narrative of the mooching student. the forever student. And I feel like that comes from that then.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any other sense any other way. Because like you're like realistically
Yeah.
where else in the world they look at people who are educated and go, you're a fucking mooch.
The United Kingdom does as well.
But
Well,
I
that's
mean,
Maggie Thatcher.
yeah.
Yeah.
Same crew.
Yeah. Again, they didn't want they didn't want people getting like.
They didn't want
They
unions.
didn't want people like I don't know if you know. There's a comedian Alexi Sale. He does a podcast. He's a Liverpool comedian, from a really working class background. Parents were communists, and he got like his education was very much pro-communist. He learned about Marxism and all that shit, and they didn't want people learning about that stuff.
Yeah, because it's just like, how are you going to get all these young, educated people, and then knowing that they don't have as many opportunities?
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the problems they have now, is because they've done this, like, they tanked the economy like 2 times in the past 10 years, right? And now they have all these kids who went to college like they were told, and they're now saddled with this fucking debt, but they work in Starbucks.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the narrative on American TV is that like you're paying for like highly educated people who have really good jobs to get like 10 grand
Absolutely
off,
not.
which is absolutely not the case.
No.
And one of the problems that they have with this is you have like people who are educated and understand the sort of the discrepancies in the system and how it's like the inequalities and stuff. When they learned a bit of critical thinking, and now they're working in fucking Starbucks and Amazon, and they're organizing their other workers. It's not cool.
They kind of fucked up on that.
They did fuck up, yeah.
Because they didn't end up just sitting they can't afford to sit in Starbucks on laptops and write a short story.
No. I mean,
that's
because they're working in Starbucks.
Yeah.
You know, they're making fucking frappuccinos and mochachinos and whatever.
But they have like a graduate degree.
But they have a fucking graduate degree, or they're working on their graduate degree, or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? And they're they're educated. You know, we had a name for it when I was in San Francisco. We had all gone to college, but we all had like just regular working class jobs, and we called ourselves the overeducated urban proletariat.
No, you did not.
We did, yeah.
The
it was
overeducated urban proletariat.
Yeah, it was OEU with an umlaut P. Oopies. But yeah, I mean that was like
hardcore gang.
Yeah, I mean that was like and that was in the 80s, and then it's only gotten worse since.
I mean, a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean there's only so many of those those professional jobs that you needed, and like almost everything now you need a degree to get any kind of fucking job.
If you think of that logic and you think of that strategy just from the 80s, you basically guarantee that the people who conspire with you, their kids are going to get in on there, and they're going to follow the same shit you do, because it doesn't matter how educated those kids are if they go to a great school. They come from philosophy of fucking everybody over.
Even when I went to UMass, like I said, it was like I paid $4,000 a year, but like in-state students paid like $1,200, which is nothing. I mean, you'd make that easily in a summer.
Right.
Working on I knew a lot of girls that worked in Cape Cod. They worked as waitresses in Cape Cod in the summertime. And they paid for school. Like they paid for their a whole year's tuition with just working in the summer. And they lived at home in the summertime, but they paid for a whole year's college with a work or summer work.
And that's another problem with that, is there's probably some people who were like working class, they could do that at that time. Okay? They came from maybe a middle class background. And now they've come to a point where they paid for school or whatever, and they probably can't relate to somebody right now who can't get through school because they can't pay for it.
No.
They can't relate to that because they're like, well, we did it on our own.
Yeah, I mean, and you see so much of this, like
I do. I see
so much of this, like
I see so many people like that. They talk shit.
Bitterness about people getting a break. You know what I mean? About these people getting a break. It's like, well, I paid mine. Why shouldn't I? Was like, listen, my great grandmother worked in a fucking sweatshop. And I can guarantee you, she wasn't pissed off that her kids didn't work in a sweatshop.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like progress. That's actual progress.
Yeah, why are you working so hard then?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's people who are dying, and like they're leaving the debt to their fucking children.
That's unbelievable.
Their student debt to their children. It goes on in perpetuity. You can't cancel it.
And I don't understand that.
Yeah, and guess whose law it was that said that you can't cancel student loan debt with the bankruptcy?
Who?
Joe Biden.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
When?
He was the Financial Services Act, 1990.
4 or 5.
5.
Because he did the crime bill in '94, right?
He did the crime bill in '94, but it was Joe Biden.
He was busy in the early '90s.
Joe Biden is from Delaware. Delaware is the corporate state of America. It's where all the corporations are.
Money laundering central.
Yeah, that's where all their corporation headquarters are. This guy is like this was like a really cheap, transparent move to try and win votes for this midterm election. That's all it was.
Yeah, I saw some of it. Yeah, it's like if you're making over 150,000.
125.
125, you don't qualify.
Yeah.
I thought it was 150. But
Which
yeah.
sounds like a lot of money, but if you live in New York City and you're making
you're paying-
125,000,
And you're paying health insurance, and you have kids
Forget
who are
it.
going to school. It's nothing.
forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm just like, when I read that article, I was like, you piece of shit. Like, that was a great 40-year plan. I mean, I'm sure it was.
Oh yeah, no,
like,
I mean it absolutely is.
because to me, it's unimaginable to think, because we're talking about most schools in California have to be at least 40 grand a year. Have to be.
They have to be.
The
yeah.
good
I mean,
ones?
I don't know what state university costs. Like the university system in California. I mean, the amount of money that they're making is unbelievable. I know that, like, you know, I must actually check and see how much like the tuition is at UMass where I went, because I remember I'm almost positive it was $4 grand. It was like $2,000 a semester.
And that was in.
1984, 5, and 6.
Wow.
So 30 years ago. You know, I'm sure
And
it's.
then on the other side, you look at Europeans, and it's a totally different game.
Yeah, it's free here.
Yeah.
It's free here. It's free in Germany. It's, you know, I mean, they only introduced fees. My son Sean was the last. Like the year after he finished, they introduced fees for the
Okay.
first time.
Oh.
And people were. I don't know what happened to the Irishmen, because, like, if they tried that shit in France,
Yeah.
they would set the whole fucking country on fire. And the Irish are just like, oh well, you know, whatever. I don't know what the fuck happened
It's
to them.
not
then.
me.
No, fuck that
I was
shit.
like, I'm not in this.
No, fuck it. I'll say it. I don't care.
I know,
You know what I mean?
I know.
Lads, wake up, man. You know what I mean? You're
no,
supposed
no.
to be the rebel fucking country. Come on. Fuck's sake.
Choking fires.
Um,
It's the white guy, not me. I couldn't back out of a shot further. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, but I mean,
yeah.
I get what you're saying, because yeah. No, I'm not saying specifically the Irish, but there's a lot of communities or countries that are just like
yeah, they don't.
probably worry.
Yeah. They, you know.
You know, if you're waiting in line to see an apartment and 60 other people are in front of you, there might be issues.
I saw an article in the Irish news the other day, and there was like an apartment, a box room, they call it. It's like the smallest room in a house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tiny. There's
No
enough
windows?
No, there's a window.
Oh, okay.
There's enough room for like a bed and maybe like a little
Like desks
dresser
or
drawer or
yeah.
something like that. This guy got 300 responses in 24 hours, and it's 700 euros for a room that's probably
Might as well just go to jail.
only a
prison.
little bit bigger than a jail cell. Would only be a
You
bit
might as
bigger
well
than
go
a
to
jail
prison.
cell.
It's free.
Yeah, it's free.
Kinda.
Yeah. I mean, you know.
And you don't pay You don't pay for
Yeah,
Wi-Fi.
I mean, you know, there's the anal rape in the shower thing, but if you don't mind that, then you're okay. I mean, prison's the way to go.
it
I
is
guess.
in this case.
Yeah. Anyway,
All right, we'll take a little break.
take a little break. Yeah. So we're talking about science, yeah?
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. Want to take your
Which-
glasses off? You leave your glasses
Oh
on?
yeah, it's better, yeah. Without glasses, much better. What you want to talk about first? Because we have the last week news that people miss it.
Yes.
It was like dinosaurs that they reproduce a lot because the climate warmed 250 million years ago.
Right.
We have the Japanese walk different because they eat better.
They eat better, so they walk better.
Science. It's not.
Science.
It's not something I was
It's
thinking. It was
science.
like.
Yeah.
And
Well-
then we got that Argentina and Australia are the only two places will be safe of an atomic.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Argentina and Australia will be the only two places where.
And eventually New Zealand, but everybody knows that doesn't exist.
That's right. They don't
Yeah.
exist because they're pretend fake places. They're
Yeah.
not real.
Yeah.
And like, no one's ever actually been to Australia or New Zealand. When you're flying from anywhere to New Zealand and Australia, it takes 24 hours. But what they do is they hypnotize you, and they put a drug in the air of the plane, and it makes you hypnotized, and then they implant memories in your mind that you were in a place with like kangaroos and
But
strange animals.
I got a real story about that.
Okay.
That the aviation stories are my favorites.
Yes.
And we have once a flight going from Buenos Aires to Sydney, and when they were overflying Ushuaia, because we were going from Buenos Aires to Australia through the south,
Okay.
they were leaking hydraulic
Hydraulic
liquid.
fluid, yeah.
Yeah. So they decided to come back because they were not hotels enough in Australia for 747.
Yeah, okay.
Some of us says, be prepared because the plane is coming back. So start to speak English so people will think they are arriving to Australia instead they are coming back to Buenos Aires. You know?
Yes.
And I think that's what you are trying to say when you say,
Yeah.
maybe it was the first test flights.
Could have been.
Yeah,
Could
maybe
have
I've been in the first program when they were training people how to deal with flights to Australia that it really doesn't exist.
See what happens now is like you get on the plane and you get up to like 36,000 feet, you know what I mean, cruising altitude, and then you go for a while, you have your food and everything, and then the movie comes on, and then you don't even know it.
No.
But like everyone on the plane gets hypnotized, right?
Yeah, and everybody in the airport is changing the uniforms, they're changing the decorations.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you don't actually go to, there's no place called Australia.
No, you go back to the same place you lived.
You go back to the same place you were in, and they just have implanted 2 weeks, like in Total Recall, the movie Total Recall, like where they implant a memory that you've been someplace.
No,
they put that in your mind that you've been to Australia.
Stanley Kubrick was on that. Was working on that, on the moon thing, and on the fake airport,
on the fake
Australian and New Zealand airport.
Yeah, definitely was. Yeah, he definitely was. Yeah,
he was one of them.
Yeah, I mean, like, and some of the production values and some of the memories that the people tell you about, I mean, they're very good. Stanley Kubrick, like that kangaroo thing, they invented those, man.
No, doesn't exist kangaroos as well. They were people.
No such thing, man.
It's people. It's mothers. It's real mothers with real babies.
It's like there's like a Mexican guy in a fucking thing, like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, it's Disney World. It's like Disney World. Yeah, if you are in Australia, in the fake Australia, just catch a kangaroo
and pull the head off.
Pull the head off, and you will see there's a person there. It's a mother with a real baby that she put in the bag. Try it. They must try it.
Yeah. So that's our science about Australia.
Yeah. So that's why they are safe about the atomic bomb, because everybody will be dead, so no one can check.
Exactly. Yeah.
They are very smart. The people who make all these things, they are very smart.
It's because they're scientists.
That's it. And then we got this week, like, it's a very, very interesting thing. Like, it's the angry minion with no anus. It's not related to humans.
That's right. Yeah. It's like an animal with no anus.
Yeah, but the scientists thought that it was related to humans, that it was the origin of humans.
Yeah.
But recently they say no, it's not, because we got anus.
So we didn't evolve from the animal with no anus. We evolved from the animal that was all anus.
All anus, only anus.
All anus.
No.
It was just an asshole, a giant asshole, and that's how we evolved. That makes perfect sense.
No mouth.
No mouth. No.
Yeah, it was
just shit.
Yeah, it was the angry minion with with anus. Yeah, that's it. That's what now it's there's a division in between scientists. Like, we come from the angry minion,
right,
with no anus,
right,
or from the happy minion, only
that's
anus.
all anus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all I think we got from this week from science. It's not much because still August.
Yeah, it's still August. Science takes a break.
Yeah, 28th of August, so it's San Agustin Day.
Yeah.
You know how I know that?
No, how do you know?
It's the saint of my school.
Oh, the saint of your school.
Yeah.
St. Augustine.
St. Augustine. It was the guy who was evil, and he was nice. And
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's too Catholic for me, man.
Yeah, it was a psychopath who became nice at the last moment, so they make him saint.
They make him a saint.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they tried to put like the example for teenagers, like, do the St. Augustine. He was an asshole as you are, but then you can be nice and you can be a saint.
So he must have evolved. Definitely evolved from the animal that was all anus, for sure.
No, at the beginning he was thinking that it was the angry minion.
Okay.
And then he changed his mind.
So you think the bad one was the one with no anus, because it was just so frustrated, because it was like constantly had to have a shit, but it couldn't shit.
He can't smile.
Yeah.
No, the one with only anus cannot smile.
Oh, okay. Oh, right, yeah. But the one with the one with no anus, like, I mean, you feel uncomfortable when you have to have a shit. Imagine just not being able. You can't have a shit.
Well, all these items and all these topics were treated in the last conference about this. It was a congress of all the scientists were to the congress.
Okay.
And they were. That's why the conclusion is they were not coming from that. Then they voted, and there was a half plus one vote that we're not coming from that.
Okay.
But all the things they thought it was.
So wait a minute. So that was the scientific method.
Yeah, that's what.
The scientific method was to take a vote.
Yeah, they take a vote on this because it was so close. Okay. Because at the beginning it says, so the animal is eating, and never had a shit.
Yeah.
So how does it work?
Yeah.
And it was the first controversy. Then if he's shitting through the mouth, that it was one of the possibility.
Yeah, we must have evolved from that one.
Yeah,
we definitely evolved.
No, I didn't go. That's why. They won the other ones.
Yeah, we definitely evolved from that one.
We miss it.
Yeah, it's like
we miss it. You know why we miss it?
Yeah.
Because you put the microphone in the bucket. So,
remember? That's right. Yeah, because I put the microphone in the bucket. Yeah. Do you remember there was an episode of The Simpsons where they had the thing that was like the duplicator thing, and Bart put the dog and the cat in, and the first one that came out was like a cat head and a dog head, and Bart was like, "Oh, you're my new pet," and then the one came out with the two asses, and he said, "You can be Lisa's."
True.
Yeah, that was quality, man.
And in Spaceballs, make me remember Spaceballs as well.
Spaceballs.
Yeah, when they put the transporter, and they come with the ass in front and the.
Oh no, I haven't seen Spaceballs in years, man. I must watch that again. It's very good, man.
Yeah, get there.
Very good.
The ass in front and the body back.
Yeah. Anyway,
it was not very scientific week.
No, it was not a very illuminating week in science, though, for us.
No, because it was I lost my career. I was on the road, but last Sunday I was brilliant. I was growing into information.
Yes.
And this, I lost my training.
And then I dumped the microphone in the bucket and everything. We had to start over. It's like a reset.
Yeah, that I'm thinking was on purpose.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. No. I would never do that.
Well, the scientists can vote. If it is,
I do like that scientists can vote. Like, I mean, that's great. Yeah. I mean, like, so like they made science a democracy now, which is so nice. Yeah. Because you see how successful democracy is.
Yeah. If in the coronavirus things, if they vote.
It seems like that's what they did. I don't even think they voted. I think they just picked shit out of a hat.
Lockdown or
let's do that one today, and let's do that one. Vaccine? Yeah. No, you need 6 of them now. You know what I mean? Like they just made it up.
That's a real science thing. Well, things are coming out. I'm brilliant again. I'm right.
Okay, good. Yeah.
It was Moderna says that they invented the vaccine, so they're asking for money.
Oh, that's right. They're suing the
the other ones they stole their idea of messenger, whatever thing.
Yeah, RNA messenger shit. Yeah, which doesn't work.
But it was what's the name of the girl who developed that? The owners of Moderna is
Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton she was who developed the vaccine.
Yeah.
She found the vaccine.
Actually, I got a Moderna, and I noticed my fucking man boobs are getting bigger since Dolly Parton had something to do with that.
Yeah, one of the biggest scientists of the 21st century.
Dolly Parton.
Is Dolly Parton.
It's a great scientific mind.
She saved the humanity.
She'll go down in the annals of history with like Isaac. It'll be like Isaac Newton, Galileo, Einstein, Dolly Parton. Yeah. Great scientist.
She discovered Moderna.
Yeah, she discovered Moderna.
And it was a nice name for a vaccine.
Moderna, yeah.
Very appropriate.
Yeah.
And so now she's climbing to Pfizer to.
Yeah, she's right too, man. I hope she wins. Yeah, just because I like Dolly Parton.
And copyrights.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
she knows about that.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
And I think that's it. I think I don't have.
Yeah, I think we're done for this week. We'll be back again next week anyway.
With
more science. Hopefully, like it's there'll be some new science. There'll be great scientific breakthrough during the week.
We don't have the level of the chorizo slice or things that happened before. Like it was really good news.
No, there was good shit before, but no, it's been a very quiet couple of weeks.
No, our highlight today was the anus.
Yes, definitely. Okay.
Thanks.
Right
Ciao.
Unions. Yeah. Positive news on the union front, like in the United Kingdom, the unions are like kicking it. They really are. They're they shut down the tube. They really are.
That's got to be a backlash from Brexit shit too.
Partially,
some of those people would have been the same people who voted.
They would have been, yeah, because.
Yep, and I get it.
But the Brexit thing was about, like, it was frustration with just being treated like shit.
But not knowing who's treating you
like
shit. Yeah,
exactly.
Because really, like.
It was easier to blame a faceless, entity like Europe.
Than the faces right in front of you?
Than the people standing right in front of you doing it.
Bullshitting.
Yeah.
But it is coming back hard. I mean, they look like no nonsense, and I feel like maybe unions will be on some ways some kind of key to, I don't want to say revolution, but a bit of like a reform.
I hope so. Yeah.
They would be.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work when people don't work together.
Yeah, well, I mean, and there was another thing that Pablo sent me this from the Argentinian. There's like a tire factory.
Okay.
And they've been on strike for how long now? But
just started.
Just started, but like, and what they would normally do is they would use the security guards, you know,
Right.
this private security that they have, to you know, to quell the strike, and
Okay.
the security guard just said, no, listen, we're not going to do
We're
that.
not in this.
So they were like, they kind of they went out in solidarity with
Right.
the other workers, which is great.
Yes, it is, and
you know,
that's a sign, because if it's like if you can't even pay other people to do their dirty work,
that's it. Yeah,
then
yeah.
it means tensions are rising to a level that you cannot control.
And that's where it gets. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like it's a bit different in the UK and the US, because the UK and the US have this police forces that are
Ain't fucking around.
have become sort of like tools of the state in a sense, very much like tools of the state. So they use them, and they've been sort of indoctrinated to believe that they're part of the up there, when actually they're much closer to down there. But you never know.
You know, but you never know, and it's also when people have family and friends.
Yeah, it's like
Family and friends.
It's
you
like
know?
that. I listened to Chris Hedges do a lecture on when he was living in Berlin, when the Berlin Wall came down, and nobody knew that was going to happen. And the Stasi, the East German Stasi, which was like the most notorious like security police force in Europe, just said, well, we're not going to shoot anybody anymore. And they put their guns down, and the people fucking tore the wall down, and nobody saw that time. Eric Honecker had to go running to fucking Moscow.
Yeah.
Like nobody knew that was coming.
Yeah.
So, you know, it can happen.
It can happen. I just think, the stranglehold on people in society is a lot stronger than we think.
I agree. It's very strong.
But you're right. You know, when people snap, they snap, and sometimes that shit is like wildfire, and it goes because.
I mean, you're looking at like what's coming in the UK, like with the fuel crisis and heating bills. Like, you know, we touched on this a little bit last week on the show that I forgot to record. We touched on this a little bit last week. Like, people are going to die.
Yeah.
Because they can't heat their homes.
They'll be cold.
Yeah, and what they're proposing now is, this is amazing to me that people are actually buying into this bullshit. I don't think they are, but like Boris Johnson is going to give people like, I don't know, like a monthly stipend to help with their energy costs. So basically what he's saying is like, I can see that my mates who run the energy companies are robbing you guys, so I'm going to give you some money to pay to my mates.
Yeah, but it's like nothing.
And what is that doing? You know what I mean? It's just giving money, like it's just a conduit. Just give them the money so they can give it to them.
This is the direct approach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
this
mean,
is like, you're gonna pay your bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna give you the money to pay your bills so my buddies can stay in business, and I can have fucking like gin and tonics with them at the golf course before we have a fucking round of golf. It's you know, standard issue neoliberal bullshit.
I know that it's funny because it's been a whole thing throughout Europe as well, obviously, where they're coming down on energy things, and they're trying to make these, you know, this policy that seems to be, I don't know, it's coming into play at the same time, which makes you think it's coming.
Yeah, it is coming.
You for,
it is coming.
Hey, we told you.
Yeah, it is coming.
You know?
I mean, like, you know, the whole notion of the control that they have is just so flimsy.
Yeah.
And it only takes like, you know, it's the final like drop in the bucket, or the final straw in the camel's back, or whatever.
Yeah.
And boom, the whole thing blows up. Like remember, it kicked off in Chile, and then they overthrew the fucking government, and they eventually they wrote a new constitution.
Yeah.
In Chile, and that all kicked off because they put the fucking subway fares up by, I think it was like some like minimal amount, like 5 cents, but that we're like, that's it. Now you've gone too fucking far.
Because I think it takes a lot of like study to see the little things that maybe like fuck up your ecosystem. You know, the control they have. Because it could be that the subway system was such a thing that was relied upon.
Yeah.
And when it became inaccessible to a lot of people, it was like, that's it. We can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that's what we're looking at now. Is something is going to happen. I mean, I hope it's not.
I think the problem is that like they encroach on so many of your liberties. So it comes fast, but it also comes slowly, you know?
Yeah.
And because you don't notice it, it's the whole thing of like, you know, the lobster getting boiled.
Yeah.
You don't know, or the frog, or whatever the fuck. It's so horrible at this. And I think that that's the problem, is that we should stop at yellow, not red, you know?
Yeah, I mean...
It shouldn't be when you're fucking 20 cents on the subway fare is the difference between you feeling secure or not.
I'm going to murder another Lenin quote, but something, this is not an exact quote, but something to the effect of like, nothing happens for decades, and then decades happen in a week.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, like that, you know, it was like his reference to like the Russian Revolution in 1917. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, there's that to look forward to. And if, I mean, I just think if these people that were in control at the top, these like Davos, like ghouls, if they had a single ounce of fucking sense, they would give something.
Yeah.
To alleviate, like a pressure release valve.
I was that was the word that came to my head. It was pressure. It's just so much fucking pressure.
I just don't see why that, you know, I mean, just make some compromise, because if you don't give them something, they're just going to come and take everything.
Yeah.
And you're going to have nothing left. I mean, like the fucking, the Tsar in Russia is a perfect example. He was like living on the high of the land, and like 2 weeks later they had fucking chopped his head off. Same thing in fucking, in France in 1789. They shot him. Did they shoot him? Yeah.
They shot him. They shot his kids too. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
apparently Anastasia still lives.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's a good Disney movie.
Yeah. But I mean that happens.
Yeah,
you know?
it does.
I mean, and like the systems are a lot more complicated now, but just because they're more complicated, they're no different. They're just a little bit more complicated.
Right.
It's just a little bit harder to find out.
And people are actually, in a way that they're not more educated, but they are more educated.
Yeah.
And they have more access into the insight, you know what I mean? Like, as much as they monitor us, we have more ability to monitor them.
We don't have like a czar. There's not one guy anymore. You know what I mean?
Which is kind of scary.
But that's the thing. It's like, you know,
Faceless.
it becomes this like just this monolith of power and wealth and money, and they can pay no end of people to, you know, to protect them. But again, it gets to a point where
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know?
The thing that we always even say, it's like, but then at that point, when people are driven to madness, you don't know when the madness stops, and you don't know if they can pick it up again to organize themselves to not just institute the same bullshit again.
Yeah.
Because you're pushing people to a point. I mean, at this point, we're arguing about shit that does not fucking matter.
No.
Like,
Anyway.
apparently the earth is on fire.
This is true.
You wouldn't know.
This is true. What are you gonna do?
We just spent like 6 months watching a Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. We don't care.
Ooh.
We don't give a fuck.
And now it's going to be 6 months of what was in the box in Trump's basement.
He's incredible. Seriously, just a natural fucking talent again. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it's just
it
ridiculous.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that kind of beat him was COVID.
And it didn't. Yeah, it did.
Nah,
Yeah,
it did.
no, it did. That was
It did.
like he would still be president if it wasn't for COVID.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Because nobody's going to beat him.
No, man.
Yeah, especially not Sleepy Joe.
This is when you sound so fucked up. This is when people are like, you're a right-winger.
I am not a right-winger.
I know, but this is why.
But I mean, how do you have to be like just criticizing a guy who's like so clearly not able for this job?
You're using Sleepy Joe, so it's like,
Yeah. It's a good nickname.
You could call him like, you know.
He is Sleepy Joe, man. President Grandpa. Is that better?
President Grandpa.
I like that better.
They're all good, really.
Yeah.
He seems to be picking up, though. I saw a thing. He did a speech and he called out Republicans. I was like, ooh, get him, you know? No.
Yeah, but I mean, like...
It was bullshit.
But I mean, like, when somebody asked him at a press conference about student loans, and they said, Mr. President, do you think it's fair to give student loan relief when so many people have already paid their student loans off? You know, that tired old fucking tripe.
Shit.
It didn't go into the border, did it?
No, nothing.
Are we safe?
Yeah, it's
Are we safe?
We're safe. Sorry.
And and he said, well, I don't think it's fair that that corporations got billions back in bailouts and all. And I was like, you gave them that. You gave them that shit, man. What are you talking about? You know what I mean?
Now you know what kind of reality you're dealing with somebody looking in your face and fucking, you know, it's like you're pissing in their ear.
Yeah, but I mean, even like, I read an article on the BBC, my favorite fucking news organization, and they were talking about the student loan, like explaining it to a British audience, as if there's any British people who read the fucking BBC anymore. Like, they're explaining to a BBC, like a British audience, of what the student loan thing was, and da-da-da-da. And I get down to like this paragraph about halfway down, and it says, Joe Biden suspended the student loan payments early in the pandemic. And I'm like, okay, listen, again.
Oh, wow.
I'm not right wing, right? But Joe Biden didn't do that.
No.
Donald Trump did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just tell the truth. I mean, you don't have to, like, you know what I mean?
You know what the scary thing is? I bet you that article gets cited for something. As
Yeah.
a source. A fact. It does
I'm sure
happen.
they can. I'm sure they can. Yeah, I'm sure they will. Yeah. Anyway. So
Anyways.
that's fine. I had a little swipe of the media at the end there, so that's good.
You can't help it.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, I guess that's it for today. Kind of a disjointed show, I thought. We were funnier last week. Anyway.
Probably.
But yeah, we're going to try and do our live thing.
We were funnier on the show that you didn't record.
That you didn't record, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Selling it well.
So,
Bye.
yeah, so, bye.
Yeah.